My boyfriend was considered a Prince Charming in our social circle. But during my birthday celebration on a yacht, he pushed me into the seat just to impress another girl from our university, making fun of my fear of water. Little did he know I suffered from aquaphobia. As a result, I ended up in the ICU, while he managed to win over the heart of the campus belle. When I finally woke up, he was by my side, apologizing, but I had no clue who he was. "Excuse me, do I know you?" I asked, completely baffled. The doctor explained that I had lost part of my memory. However, he kept insisting he was my boyfriend. I couldn't help but argue back, "No way. My boyfriend is Raleigh Landon." Everyone knew Raleigh Landon was his sworn enemy. My boyfriend was Justin Reed, a Prince Charming in Rivers City social circle. He had always been wild and extravagant, spending money recklessly and surrounded by women. I spent 3 years with him, during which he treated me well and even proposed. But recently, he became interested in someone new. She was a young, beautiful college student with fair skin and an elegant demeanor. He couldn't resist her innocence and kindness to amuse her. He didn't hesitate to push me into the sea on my birthday. Today, the sky stretched endlessly, a flawless expanse of blue without a hint of cloud in sight. However, the calm water unexpectedly turned into large splashes. I struggled in the water, feeling despair wash over me as I watched the people on the yacht. A girl named Jasmine Fox stood on the edge of the yacht in a white dress, her eyes innocent and bright. Seeing my distress stayed in the water. Jasmine delicately covered her lips and smiled sweetly. Her smile was captivating. Justin also joined in the laughter. He was smiling brightly, and even his worried expression eased up a bit. By the time he heard my cries for help, I was already sinking. The sensation of drowning was suffocating. I had nearly drowned as a child, and ever since I'd been terrified of water. I hadn't wanted to celebrate my birthday on a yacht, but I couldn't resist Justin's persuasion. However, when I arrived on the yacht, I found not only our usual friends, but also a beautiful stranger. Justin doted on her, serving her drinks and fruit, even giving her the first slice of cake. His attentiveness, which he hadn't shown me in a long time, struck me as odd. I immediately sensed something was wrong, but I never suspected him. It wasn't until he pushed me into the sea that it hit me. Justin had a change of heart. He watched me slowly sinking leisurely, lifting his sunglasses onto his forehead, squinting as he looked at me, struggling in the water, and began to mock. "Stella, are you really that helpless in the water? Quit pretending. Just come up already. Jasmine finds you entertaining enough. No need to keep up the act." The mocking laughter was grating. "Justin, it seems like she really can't swim." Someone yelled out after sensing something was amiss and swiftly tossed a lifeboat to me. But by then my body was already sinking. "Save her, Stella." The scene was chaotic, and several people worked together to rescue me onto the yacht. But even after several rounds of CPR, I didn't wake up. My body gradually grew colder. Justin started to panic, hurriedly taking me to the hospital and rushing me into the emergency room. There, doctors worked tirelessly for over 2 hours before managing to revive me. Justin breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing the doctor say I was out of immediate danger. If things had taken a turn for the worse, he would have been labeled a murderer. While he enjoyed having fun, he certainly didn't want to wind up behind bars. It wasn't until the next day that I woke up in the hospital bed. As I looked at the ceiling and caught the lingering scent of disinfectant, confusion welled up in my eyes just as I moved. A throbbing pain shot through my head. I lifted my hand to my forehead, grunting softly. Justin, who had just returned, spotted me awake and hurried over, gripping my hand eagerly. "Stella, you woke up at last. When you were unconscious the whole night, I feared you might never open your eyes again." I jerked my hand back, suddenly staring at him with suspicion while furrowing my brows. "Who are you?" "Stella, are you joking? I'm your boyfriend, Justin Reed." Justin grabbed my hand again and laughed. However, as he looked into my fearful eyes, mistaking my distress for pretense, his tone gradually grew impatient. "It was wrong of me to push you into the sea, but there's no need for this. You're fine now, aren't you? Boyfriend? What nonsense are you talking about? My boyfriend is Raleigh Landon." I abruptly pulled away from his grasp, clutching a pillow in front of me, glaring at him with sharp, wary eyes. I had no idea who he was.
What?
Who did you say is your boyfriend? Justin's eyes bulged with anger, and he slammed his fist on the bedside table. Raleigh was his archenemy. Ever since childhood, he had consistently been defeated by Raleigh, nurturing a profound hatred for him that he couldn't even articulate. As I looked around the empty hospital room, then at Justin, who was approaching with growing fury, I shouted anxiously, "Don't touch me. I don't know you." My outcry summoned the doctor, seeing how resistant I was to Justin. The nurse escorted him out of the room to wait at the door. The doctor conducted a series of examinations on me, asking many questions. Afterward, he advised me to rest. Justin stood by the door for a while, calming down. As soon as the doctor left, he rushed forward and interrogated. "Doctor, what's wrong with my girlfriend? Why doesn't she recognize me? And how could she claim another man as her boyfriend? She might have experienced some trauma causing memory loss. She might recover after some time, but don't stress her during this period," the doctor instructed. Justin was in disbelief.
How could she just forget about him?
As soon as the doctor left, Justin barged into the room. He pushed me down onto the bed, his face menacing as he demanded, "All I did was push you into the sea. Do you really have to pretend to have amnesia?" Hearing the commotion, several nurses rushed in, pulling him away. "What kind of boyfriend are you? Don't go in there to upset her. Otherwise, she might never recognize you." The nurse peered through the tiny window on the door and saw me curled up on the hospital bed. She then turned to warn Justin. Justin paid no heed. He wanted to see how long I could keep up the act. Not long after my parents arrived at the hospital, Justin feared the truth about him pushing me into the sea would come out. So he didn't even tell them I was in the hospital. While the Reed family had considerable influence in River City, the Wright family's power was not to be underestimated. Additionally, the Reed Group still relied on my father's investment, and I served as the chief architect for the company. Justin needed my family's resources and my expertise. Mr. and Mrs. Wright? Just look at Stella. She's putting on quite the act. Pretending not to recognize me, she even grabbed my arm just now. Justin complained to my parents, wearing a smile. My parents were shocked. They hurried to my bedside, pointing at themselves. "Stella, do you recognize us?" They were afraid I might have forgotten them. "Dad, Mom, what nonsense are you talking about? How could I not recognize you?" I laughed at their nervous expressions. They breathed a sigh of relief. Pale and tired face. They felt sorry for me. They caressed my face tenderly and inquired, "Stella, the doctor mentioned you almost drowned. They worked hard to revive you all night. Aren't you afraid of water? What were you doing at the seaside?" However, when I saw Justin coming in, I screamed and hid behind my parents.
"Dad, Mom.
This person is crazy. Don't let him touch me. Did he say he's my boyfriend? But my boyfriend is Raleigh." I tightly held my mom's hand with a determined look. Upon hearing this, my parents' expressions froze for a moment. They took out their phones and proceeded to show me the photos one at a time, asking for my input. It became evident that I had simply forgotten about Justin and only recognized Raleigh. Jasmine, however, didn't seem to care at all. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, he went to invite Jasmine to dinner. He repeatedly asked Jasmine out, and she finally agreed to go out with him. This time, without any hesitation, he immediately drove to pick her up. His luxurious car attracted a lot of attention at Jasmine's school. Upon getting into the car, Jasmine cast a brief glance at Justin, maintaining her pure and angelic demeanor. She then softly asked, "Is your girlfriend all right? What could happen to her?" "She's lucky to be alive," Justin replied with a hint of flattery. During the whole afternoon, Justin took Jasmine to several luxury stores and spent hundreds of thousands. Finally, he took her to the most expensive restaurant for a candlelit dinner. However, when Justin dropped her off at the school gate, she refused the luxury goods he offered. Justin couldn't resist being drawn to this type of girl. His emotions lingered, and he felt the passion reigniting. Later that evening, he took his friends to the bar to celebrate. Someone congratulated him and wished him to win over Jasmine. Soon, however, his good friend Jackson Daves frowned. "Justin, aren't you about to marry Stella? Isn't this unfair to her? Moreover, she had just been discharged from the hospital. Shouldn't you be accompanying her?" Jackson reminded upon hearing this. Justin raised his eyebrows lightly, chuckled, and said indifferently, "When else should a guy have some fun, if not before marriage? Besides, I've been restraining myself for 3 years. It's not often I can find someone so compatible. So let me enjoy this, all right?" His tone was very casual. After the confusion at the hospital and Justin's persistence in trying to make me remember who he was, things started changing in subtle but disturbing ways. Although I couldn't comprehend how someone could be so cruel as to push me into the sea, I knew there was something darker behind his actions. The feeling of insecurity consumed me, especially when I recalled the way he now looked at me, full of anger and frustration. Even though my parents tried to reassure me, there was something they didn't know, something I couldn't figure out myself. That night, after everyone left and I was finally alone in the hospital room, I started having flashes of memory. Small, disjointed scenes from moments I couldn't understand. A heated argument between Justin and a man I didn't recognize. A black car parked in front of my house for several nights in a row. Justin on the phone, talking to someone about a deal that seemed to involve him much more deeply than I could have imagined. These memories came in fragments, but I knew there was something being kept from me. And it wasn't just the betrayal with Jasmine or the push into the sea. There was a deeper conspiracy unfolding, something Justin was desperately trying to keep hidden. A few days later, when I was discharged from the hospital, my house felt different. A sense of discomfort surrounded me, as if the walls had ears and the hallways held secrets. My parents were concerned about my condition, and while they tried to be attentive, there was an undeniable tension in the air that I couldn't ignore. Justin had stopped showing up in person, which at first was a relief, but something told me he was still involved, just waiting for the right moment to act. A week after my return, I received an anonymous message on my phone. The screen glowed in the darkness of my room, and the message simply said, "You don't know the truth. Find Raleigh." My heart raced. Raleigh. The name I had mentioned in the hospital but made even less sense now. I barely remembered him, only a feeling that he was important to me. Somehow, he seemed to be the key to understanding everything. The next morning, I did something I never thought I would. I searched for Raleigh. Using his name in a quick search, I managed to track down his social media profile. He looked like someone I should clearly remember. His presence was commanding, his eyes intense. I didn't know how to reach out, but something inside me pushed me to send a short, direct message. "We need to talk. It's urgent." I didn't expect a quick response, but a few hours later, my phone vibrated with a notification. "Meet me today at 6 p.m. at the cafe on H Street. It's important." My heart pounded. Raleigh had agreed to meet, but what could I say to him? That I didn't remember him, but somehow I knew he was crucial in helping me understand what was happening? When the time finally came, I went to the cafe, feeling like my life was about to change. I walked in and immediately saw Raleigh sitting in a corner, watching the street through the window. He noticed me and gave a slight nod, his face expressionless. As I approached, he stood up, and I realized just how striking his presence was. He wasn't the kind of man who went unnoticed. "You came," he said in a deep voice. There was something familiar about it, but at the same time, an air of mystery that made me uneasy. I don't remember you," I admitted, sitting down in front of him. "But somehow I know you're connected to what happened to me." He tilted his head slightly, analyzing every word I said. "So you don't remember, but you mentioned my name in the hospital. That's no coincidence. It was just a gut feeling.
I really don't know why.
But something is wrong, and I think you know more than I do." Raleigh sighed deeply and leaned forward, his eyes locked on mine. "Stella, there are things you shouldn't have forgotten. Things Justin doesn't want you to remember. What happened on the yacht was a warning. He's willing to do anything to protect his secrets." My body tensed. Secrets? What kind of secrets? Dirty business, Stella. Justin and his family are involved in a series of illegal schemes, including extortion, financial fraud, and worse things. You accidentally stumbled upon some of it. And he knows that if you regain your memory, it's over for him. My mind was spinning as I tried to process what Raleigh was saying. It was like everything was starting to fall into place. The secretive conversations I remembered, Justin's uncontrolled rage, the fear in his eyes when I mentioned Raleigh. Everything made sense now. So, that's why he pushed me into the sea? I asked, my voice trembling. Raleigh nodded slowly. He tried to silence you. And if I'm not mistaken, he'll try again. You're not safe, Stella. Justin is getting desperate, and men like him don't hesitate to use violence when they're cornered. Fear washed over me like a wave. I knew Justin was capable of many things, but I never imagined he could be this dangerous. What do I do now? I asked, trying to stay calm. Raleigh looked at me directly, his expression serious. You need to get out of here. I have contacts who can help, but we have to move fast. Justin is probably already watching your every move. If he realizes you're close to recovering your memories. Before he could finish, my phone started vibrating furiously on the table. I glanced at the screen, and to my shock, it was Justin. He had sent me a message. We need to talk. I know what you're doing. My blood ran cold. Raleigh took the phone from my hand, read the message quickly, and said in a cold voice, "It's too late. He knows." I couldn't take my eyes off Justin's message. We need to talk. I know what you're doing. The chill in those words made me shiver, but at the same time, something inside me shifted. The fear that had once paralyzed me turned into a fierce determination. Justin thought he still had control over me, that I was the same submissive Stella as before. But he was about to discover that the girl he tried to destroy had risen again, and now it was his turn to fall. Raleigh, I began, taking a deep breath. If Justin wants to talk, let him talk. But this time, it's going to be on my terms. Raleigh raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What are you thinking? He wants to manipulate me, maybe even try something dirty like before. But this time, you'll be there, recording everything. We'll catch him in the act. Raleigh studied me for a moment, then nodded, a slight smile of approval forming on his lips. Hidden? Where? You'll stay in the closet, I suggested, my mind already weaving the plan together. I'll get him to talk about whatever he's hiding, and when the time is right, you'll step in. If this works, we'll expose him. Raleigh agreed, his expression turning serious. This is risky, Stella. But if that's what you want, I'm with you. That very night, I sent Justin a message, agreeing to meet and talk. We arranged to meet at my house, where I knew I could control the setting. As the time drew near, Raleigh hid inside my bedroom closet, equipped with a small camera to record everything. My heart was racing, but I stayed focused. My anger toward Justin was now my greatest ally. When Justin arrived, he seemed different. His arrogant smile and air of superiority were still there, but there was something else, a tension in his movements, like he knew his empire was about to crumble. I greeted him with a neutral expression, as if I was ready to forgive him, which only seemed to boost his confidence. Stella, he began, placing his hand on my shoulder. I know things got out of hand, but everything I did was for us. The anger bubbled up inside me, but I kept my calm facade. For us? You pushed me into the sea, Justin. I almost died. He shook his head, laughing nervously. I didn't know you couldn't swim. It was a prank that went too far. I tried to keep my expression vulnerable, as if I were falling for his manipulation again. Maybe you're right. Maybe I overreacted. He seemed to relax. I knew you'd understand. Let's calm down, okay? I'll grab us something to drink. We can toast to our future. I watched as he walked to the kitchen. My heart raced as Raleigh adjusted quietly inside the closet, ready to act. When Justin returned with 2 glasses in hand, I sensed something was off. He was too calm, his smile darker than before. And then I saw it. Justin, believing he was safe, opened the small bottle he had hidden in his pocket and poured a liquid into my glass. Raleigh, from inside the closet, didn't hesitate. Before Justin could even turn around, Raleigh stepped out of his hiding spot. This ends now, Justin, Raleigh said firmly, his voice cold and sharp. What did you just put in Stella's drink? Justin froze, his eyes wide with shock and anger. What the hell are you doing here? This is none of your business. It is when you're trying to hurt someone like this, Raleigh replied, stepping closer. We've recorded everything. For a moment, fear flashed in Justin's eyes, but his arrogance quickly returned. You think you can threaten me? Do you know who I am? Do you know what my family can do? Before he could say more, I picked up my phone and called the police, my voice steady and firm. Hello? I need a police unit immediately. A man just tried to drug me. Justin tried to flee, but Raleigh held him firmly until the police arrived. When they finally took him away in handcuffs, the desperation in his voice was evident. You can't do this. My family will destroy you. You'll regret this. As I watched him being taken away, everything came flooding back. I remembered the schemes, the shady conversations I overheard Justin having, the illicit deals involving his family, financial fraud, money laundering, extortion. Every piece of the puzzle clicked into place. Raleigh looked at me, concerned. Are you okay? I nodded. I remember everything now, Raleigh. All of it. Justin's dirty schemes and his family's crimes. I'm going to report them. And that's exactly what I did. With all the information and evidence Raleigh and I gathered, I took the case to the authorities. The investigation moved quickly, and soon, not only Justin but his entire family were in custody. Financial fraud, bribery, extortion, everything was uncovered, and the Reed family empire crumbled. As I watched the news of their arrests on TV, I felt a mix of relief and power. They had tried to destroy me, but now they were the ones falling. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had finally taken control of my life again.